2 hours before my wedding, I had two choices. I could cry and run away, or I could ruin the two people who broke my heart. I was standing in my white gown when I heard my fiancé and my best friend laughing inside the lounge. They were talking about how stupid I was, and how easily they were going to steal my family's money. I was about to collapse on the floor. Then, a strong hand gripped my arm. It was Ethan Vance, the most powerful billionaire in the city. He looked at the door, then down at my tear-stained face. He whispered, "Don't create a scene outside, Chloe. Create a masterpiece inside. Change the groom's name on the paper to mine, and let's watch them lose everything." Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the people closest to us wear the thickest masks. If you're ready to find out how Chloe turned her absolute worst nightmare into the ultimate sweet revenge, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Don't miss any of our upcoming emotional journeys. And before we dive into the rest of this incredible story, drop a comment down below. Let me know where you are watching this video from today. Now, let us go back to the very beginning of that fateful morning. The morning of my wedding was supposed to be a fairy tale. The sun was shining brightly over the grand estate. The gardens were filled with hundreds of white roses. Every single detail was perfect. My mother had spent a whole year planning this day. It was the social event of the season. I sat in front of the vanity mirror. Two makeup artists were busy at work. Sarah, my maid of honor, stood right behind me. She was holding a glass of champagne. "You look absolutely beautiful, Chloe," Sarah said. She smiled warmly into the mirror. "Mark is a lucky man. You two deserve each other." I smiled back, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. Sarah had been my best friend since college. We shared everything. We lived together, cried together, and celebrated together. When Mark proposed to me on a beach in Bali, Sarah was the very first person I called. "Thank you, Sarah," I said, squeezing her hand. "I don't know what I would do without you. You've been my rock through all this wedding stress." "Always, babe," she said. She took a sip of her drink. Looking back, I should have noticed the slight tremor in her hand. I should have noticed how her eyes avoided mine in the reflection. But I was blinded by happiness. Mark was the man of my dreams, or so I thought. He was charming, handsome, and incredibly ambitious. When we first met, he was struggling to launch his investment firm. My father, who owned a very successful logistics company, saw potential in him. My father gave Mark his first big break. He introduced Mark to wealthy clients. He even helped fund Mark's first major project. A year ago, Mark secured a massive partnership with Ethan Vance. Ethan was a legend in the business world. He was younger than most billionaires, incredibly sharp, and very distant. Mark's company skyrocketed after that. I was so proud of him. I thought we were building a future based on mutual respect and love. "All right, ladies," the lead makeup artist said, packing up her brushes. "The bride is ready. You have about 2 hours before the ceremony starts." "Thank you," I said. Sarah looked at her phone. She suddenly looked a bit anxious. "Chloe, I forgot the custom groom's boutonniere in the lower lounge. Let me go grab it before the photographer gets here." "Oh, don't worry about it, Sarah. One of the staff can get it," I replied. No, Sarah insisted quickly. Too quickly. "I want to make sure it's the right one. Mark is very particular about his suit today. I'll be right back." She hurried out of the room. I sat alone for a few minutes, breathing in the quiet. My dress was heavy, a masterpiece of silk and lace. I felt like a queen. But then, I realized I needed my phone. I had left it in the small private lounge across the hall, where Mark and his groomsmen were supposed to be getting ready earlier. I stood up, holding the heavy skirt of my dress. I walked out into the quiet, carpeted hallway of the estate. The main guests hadn't arrived yet, so the corridors were peaceful. As I approached the private suite, I noticed the door was not fully closed. It was open just a tiny crack. I was about to call out Mark's name. I thought maybe he was alone, nervous before the big moment. Then I heard a laugh. It was a low, familiar giggle. It was Sarah. My footsteps froze. My heart gave a strange, uneasy thud. I told myself I was being silly. They were probably just talking about the schedule. But my feet refused to move forward normally. Instead, I stepped quietly closer to the door. I looked through the narrow gap. The sight before me made the world spin. Mark was standing by the window. His wedding jacket was off. His shirt was unbuttoned at the top. Sarah was wrapped around him, her arms tightly around his neck. She was wearing her beautiful maid of honor dress, the dress I had chosen for her. Mark's hands were on her waist. He pulled her closer and kissed her deeply. I couldn't breathe. The air completely left my lungs. I wanted to scream, to burst through the door, to rip them apart, but my body was entirely paralyzed. I was trapped in a living nightmare. They broke the kiss, both of them breathing heavily. Sarah rested her forehead against his chest. "I can't believe you're actually going through with this today," Sarah complained, her voice whining. "Seeing you look at her like that makes me sick." Mark sighed, rubbing her back. "Sarah, we talked about this. It's just a performance. You know how much I love you. Then why marry her?" Sarah snapped. "Cancel it. Tell everyone the truth." Mark let out a bitter laugh. "And lose everything? Are you crazy? Chloe's father practically owns half the connections I need for the new expansion. Plus, her personal trust fund becomes accessible to her spouse upon marriage. The moment we sign those papers, that money is legally ours. I've already set up the offshore accounts." Sarah looked up, a cruel smile forming on her lips. She has no idea. She's so clueless. "Let's just get through today," Mark replied, kissing her neck again. "Once the wedding is over, her family's money is ours. I'll file for divorce in a year or two. I'll take half of everything, and then you and I can finally live the life we deserve." Every single word felt like a physical blow to my chest. They weren't just having an affair. They were running a scam. Mark didn't love me. He had never loved me. I was just a paycheck, a stepping stone. And Sarah, my best friend since college, was helping him rob me blind. Tears welled up in my eyes, hot and blinding. They spilled down my cheeks, ruining the perfect makeup. My hands began to shake violently. I felt sick to my stomach. I backed away from the door, my heels making no sound on the thick carpet. I backed up until my spine hit the cold wall of the hallway. I slid down slightly, holding my stomach. The pain was unbearable. I was completely alone. My parents were downstairs greeting guests. The wedding was starting in less than 2 hours. The caterers, the flowers, the media, the hundreds of influential guests, all of them were waiting for a lie. "Are you going to sit there and cry, or are you going to do something about it?" A deep, calm voice broke through my panic. I gasped and looked up. Standing right in front of me was Ethan Vance. He looked incredibly handsome in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo. His hands were casually tucked into his pockets. His face was an unreadable mask, but his dark eyes were fixed on me with intense focus. He had heard them. He knew. I tried to wipe my face, but the tears kept coming. "Ethan," I whispered, my voice cracking. I can't do this. I have to call off the wedding. I have to tell my father." Ethan stepped closer. He knelt down in front of me, completely unbothered by the fact that his expensive suit was touching the floor. He didn't offer a hollow phrase of comfort. He didn't tell me everything would be okay. He just looked at me. "If you call off the wedding right now," Ethan said smoothly, "Mark will know you caught him. He will make up a story. He will play the victim. Your father will be publicly embarrassed. The media will have a field day with your family. Is that what you want?" "No," I sobbed, "but I can't marry him. He's a monster. He wants my family's money." "I know," Ethan said. His voice was remarkably steady. It had a strange, grounding effect on me. "I've been tracking Mark's financial movements for 3 months. He has been embezzling from our joint firm as well. I was going to ruin him next week." I stared at him through my tears. "You knew." "I knew about the money," Ethan corrected softly. "I didn't know about the maid of honor until 2 minutes ago. He is a fool." "What do I do?" I asked, feeling completely lost. I can't walk down that aisle and swear to love him. Ethan was silent for a moment. He looked at the closed door of the suite, then back at me. A dangerous, sharp light sparked in his eyes. "You don't have to marry him," Ethan said. He reached out and took my cold, trembling hand in his large, warm one. "Marry me instead today, Chloe." My jaw dropped. I stared at him, wondering if I was losing my mind. "What did you just say?" "Marry me," Ethan repeated. His tone was completely serious. "The guests are here. The media is outside. The priest is ready. Your father wants to see his daughter married. Let's give them a wedding. Just change the groom." "Ethan, this isn't a business merger." I cried out in a whisper. "This is a marriage. You don't even like me. We barely talk." "I don't talk much to anyone," Ethan countered calmly. "But I respect you. I have watched you support that idiot for years while he took all the credit. You are smart, you are elegant, and you deserve better. More importantly, this solves both of our problems." "How?" My head was spinning. "If you marry me, your family's fortune is completely safe. My net worth is 10 times yours. Nobody can ever claim I married you for money. Mark's contract with my firm states that if he causes any public scandal that harms our partnership, his shares revert entirely to me. By switching grooms at the altar, we ruin his reputation. We strip him of his company, and we protect your family, all in one move." I looked at him. His face was entirely serious. He wasn't joking. He was offering me a lifeline wrapped in a brilliant strategy. "And what do you get out of this, Ethan?" I asked, trying to find my voice. "Billionaires don't just marry people out of charity." Ethan's grip on my hand tightened slightly. His eyes softened, just for a fraction of a second. "My grandfather's will states I must marry by my 32nd birthday to retain control of the parent company. That birthday is next week. I had no intention of marrying a stranger from a high society arrangement. I would rather marry someone I actually respect, someone who knows what it means to be loyal." He stood up, pulling me up gently with him. I stood there, a bride in a ruined white dress, looking at a man who was offering to change my entire destiny. "We have 1 hour and 40 minutes, Ethan said, looking at his watch. "The choice is yours, Chloe. You can cry and cancel the wedding, giving Mark time to cover his tracks. Or you can walk down that aisle, take your power back, and destroy him." The sadness inside me suddenly shifted. The heavy, crushing weight of heartbreak began to burn. It turned into a hot, bright flame of pure anger. Mark wanted a show. Sarah wanted my life. Fine. I would give them a show they would never forget. "How do we do this?" I asked, my voice suddenly clear and cold. A slow, dangerous smile appeared on Ethan's lips. "Leave the logistics to me. Go back to your room. Fix your makeup. Act normal. When the doors open at the church, just look at me." I walked back to my bridal suite. My legs felt like lead, but my mind was sharper than it had ever been. I walked inside. 10 minutes later, Sarah came bouncing back into the room. She was holding a small velvet box with the groom's boutonniere. She looked completely radiant, flushed from her secret meeting. "It sickened me to my core. I found it," she said cheerfully. "Oh, Chloe, your makeup. What happened? Did you have a happy cry?" I looked at her. I looked at the person I had shared my deepest secrets with. I felt a profound sense of disgust, but I forced a small, fragile smile onto my face. "Yes," I lied softly. "Just nerves, Sarah. The realization that everything is about to change." "Oh, sweetie," Sarah said, coming over to touch my shoulder. Her touch made my skin crawl. "Change is good. Trust me. Today is going to be unforgettable." "You have no idea," I murmured. The makeup artist returned and quickly fixed my face. They covered up the redness, hiding the evidence of my tears. Sarah kept chattering away about the seating arrangements and the reception music. I didn't hear a word. I was thinking about Ethan. Was he really going to pull this off? How could we change a marriage license in less than an hour? But Ethan Vance was a man who moved mountains. If anyone could do it, he could. Soon it was time. My father walked into the room, looking proud and handsome in his tuxedo. His eyes filled with tears when he saw me. "My beautiful girl," he said, holding out his arm. "Are you ready?" I looked at my father. I thought about how hard he had worked to build his legacy. I thought about how Mark was planning to steal it. I hugged my father tightly. "I am ready, Dad," I whispered. "More ready than you know." We drove to the grand church in a vintage limousine. The entire ride, my phone kept buzzing with texts from Mark. "Can't wait to see you, beautiful. Today our new life begins." I didn't reply. I just stared out the window. Sarah sat opposite me, texting furiously on her own phone. I knew exactly who she was texting. They thought they were so clever. They thought they were running the ultimate play. When we arrived at the church, the atmosphere was electric. Flashbulbs went off as the media tried to get photos of the bride. The church doors were closed, keeping the guests inside. Sarah helped me straighten my long train. She gave me a tight hug. "See you at the altar, Chloe. I love you." "I love you too, Sarah," I said. It was the last time I would ever say those words to her. She walked through the side entrance to join the bridal procession. My father stood beside me, offering his strong arm. "You're shaking a little, princess," my father said softly. "Are you nervous?" "A little," I admitted. "But Dad, no matter what happens next, I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" My father looked at me, a bit confused by my tone, but he nodded firmly. "I have trusted you your whole life, Chloe. I trust you now." The grand organ music began to play. The heavy oak doors of the church slowly swung open. The church was packed. Hundreds of faces turned to look at me, but my eyes went straight to the front of the altar. Standing on the left side, where the groom was supposed to stand, was Mark. He was smiling broadly, looking confident and smug. Beside him, in the maid of honor spot, stood Sarah, beaming with pride. But standing directly next to the priest, right in the center of the altar, was Ethan Vance. He wasn't standing in the best man spot. He was standing directly in front of the altar, looking calm, powerful, and utterly in control. As my father and I began our long walk down the aisle, Mark's smile suddenly faltered. He looked at Ethan, then looked at the priest. He whispered something to Ethan, clearly confused about why Ethan was standing in the central position. Ethan didn't even look at him. Ethan's eyes were locked onto mine. The walk felt like it lasted a lifetime. With every step I took, the anger inside me grew stronger, replacing the final remnants of my grief. We finally reached the front of the altar. My father stepped forward to hand me over. Customarily, Mark was supposed to step down, shake my father's hand, and take my place. Mark stepped forward, reaching his hand out to my father. But before Mark could take a step, Ethan moved. He stepped directly past Mark. He shook my father's hand with deep respect. "Thank you, sir," Ethan said, his deep voice echoing slightly in the quiet church. "I will take care of her." My father blinked in utter confusion. The guests began to whisper. A low murmur rippled through the pews. Mark's face went pale. "Ethan, what the hell are you doing? Move out of the way. That's my bride." Ethan didn't move an inch. He offered me his arm. I placed my hand on his velvet sleeve. His arm felt like solid rock. I turned away from Mark completely, facing the priest. "What is going on here?" Mark hissed, stepping forward aggressively. He tried to grab my shoulder. "Chloe, is this some kind of sick joke? Why is your partner standing there?" Sarah stepped forward too, her face a mix of confusion and panic. "Chloe, what are you doing?" The priest cleared his throat. He looked at a document on his podium. "We are gathered here today to witness the holy matrimony of Ethan Vance and Chloe Bennett." The entire church went completely silent. You could hear a pin drop. Mark looked like he had been struck by lightning. "What?" "No. Check the papers. The name is Mark Davis. I am the groom." The priest looked at Mark with a cold, professional expression. "The official marriage license was legally amended and filed digitally 45 minutes ago, Mr. Davis. The bride signed it. Mr. Vance signed it. The legal groom for the ceremony is Ethan Vance. If you are not a part of the wedding party, I must ask you to step down." Mark gasped. He looked at me, his eyes wide with a mix of rage and terror. "Chloe, what did you do? You can't do this to me. We've been together for 5 years. You're marrying him." I turned my head slowly to look at him. For the first time that day, I let him see the absolute coldness in my eyes. "2 hours ago, Mark," I said, my voice cutting through the silent church like a knife. "I went to the private lounge to get my phone. The door was open. Just a crack." Mark froze. The color completely drained from his face. He staggered back a step. I turned my gaze to Sarah. She was shaking, Her hands were clutching her bouquet so tightly the flowers were crushing. "I heard everything, Sarah," I said softly. "I heard how clueless I am. I heard about my family's money. I heard about your offshore accounts." The entire church gasped. My father's face instantly changed from confusion to absolute dark fury. He stepped forward, his fists clenching. My father was a powerful man, and right now, he looked ready to destroy Mark with his bare hands. "You miserable piece of trash," my father growled at Mark. "Wait, no. Sir, it's a misunderstanding." Mark stammered, backing away. He looked at the guests, then at the media cameras at the back. He realized his entire reputation was dissolving in real time. "Chloe, please. We can talk about this. Don't ruin everything over a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake, Mark. It was a plan," I replied calmly. "And it's over." Ethan stepped forward, placing himself between me and Mark. He looked down at Mark with pure contempt. "Security," Ethan called out. For large, muscular men in black suits instantly appeared from the side doors. They walked straight up to the altar. "Mr. Davis has breached his contract with Vance Enterprises," Ethan said coldly. "He is also trespassing on private property. Escort him and his accomplice off the premises immediately." "Ethan, you can't do this." Mark screamed as the security guards grabbed his arms. He tried to fight back, but they lifted him easily. "I built that firm with you. You can't take it from me." "Read Section 9 of your contract, Mark," Ethan replied smoothly. "A public moral scandal immediately terminates your shares. You have nothing left." Sarah began to cry hysterically as another guard took her arm. "Chloe, please. We're sisters. You can't do this to me. Don't throw me out like this." "You threw our sisterhood away for a thief, Sarah," I said, turning my back to her. "Enjoy the walk out." The security guards dragged them down the long aisle. Mark was shouting, cursing, and making a complete fool of himself. Sarah was sobbing, covering her face as the wedding guests stared at them with absolute disgust. The media cameras captured every single second of their humiliating exit. When the heavy doors closed behind them, the church fell silent once again. The dramatic storm had passed, leaving a strange, calm clarity in the room. My father looked at me. Then he looked at Ethan. He saw how Ethan was standing protectively in front of me. He saw the strength in Ethan's posture. My father nodded slowly. He stepped back and took a seat in the front row. I looked up at Ethan. My heart was beating fast, but for the first time, it wasn't out of fear or sadness. It was out of excitement. "Are you ready, Chloe?" Ethan asked softly. His voice was private just for me. "I am," I said. The priest smiled faintly, adjusting his papers. "Then let us begin." Again, the ceremony was beautiful. When Ethan said his vows, he didn't read them from a script. He looked directly into my eyes. His voice was deep, steady, and filled with a strange sincerity that I hadn't expected. He promised to protect me, to honor me, and to stand by me against any storm. When it was my turn, I spoke clearly. I wasn't just marrying a man. I was choosing my own destiny. I was choosing a partner who saw me as an equal, not a prize to be stolen. "I do," I said, placing the gold ring onto Ethan's finger. "I do," Ethan replied, placing a stunning diamond band onto mine. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife," the priest said. "You may kiss the bride." Ethan stepped closer. He placed his hand gently on the side of my face. His touch was warm and incredibly tender. He leaned down and kissed me. It wasn't a show for the cameras. It felt real. It felt like a promise. The church erupted into loud applause. My father was standing, clapping loudly, with a massive smile on his face. The guests cheered. As we walked down the aisle together, hand in hand, I didn't feel the weight of the lace dress anymore. I felt light. I felt powerful. The reception that followed was spectacular. The story of the altar switch had already leaked to the press. It was the #1 trending topic in the city. Mark's investment firm collapsed within the hour as investors pulled their funds out in a panic. He was ruined, facing lawsuits from both my father and Ethan. Sarah lost her job and her social standing overnight. They had tried to trap me, but they had ended up trapping themselves. Later that evening, Ethan and I stood on the balcony of the reception hall, looking out over the moonlit gardens. The sound of music and laughter drifted from inside. I looked down at the beautiful ring on my finger. "We actually did it," I said softly. "We did," Ethan agreed. He stepped beside me, holding a glass of champagne. "Are you throwing regrets?" "None," I said, looking up at him. "You saved me today, Ethan. Thank you." Ethan turned to face me. He set his glass down and took both of my hands in his. "I didn't save you, Chloe," he said quietly. "You saved yourself. You had the courage to stand up there and take control. I just gave you the platform." "What happens now?" I asked. "Our deal, it's official. We are married." "Now," Ethan said, a genuine, warm smile finally breaking across his handsome face, "we get to know each other. We have a lifetime to build something real, if you'll have me." I smiled back, feeling a deep warmth in my chest that I had never felt before. "I think I would like that very much, Mr. Vance." Sometimes, a heartbreak is not the end of your story. It is just the sharp turn that leads you to the place you were always meant to be. I thought I was walking into my wedding to marry my future. Turns out, I had to lose a liar to find a true king.